If you're like me, vinyl records mean a lot to you. From sound to visuals to tangibility, it's an unmatched experience in today's scroll and click culture. And if it means a lot to you and I, imagine what it means to those who've put their own music to wax through the years.
There really is something pretty profound about holding a piece of vinyl that has your music on it for the first time.
I'm Jim Hankey, host and producer of Vinyl Emergency, a podcast where your favorite songwriters, producers, and other personalities talk about how the mere existence of vinyl has influenced their lives and careers. People like Roseanne Cash, Oscar nominee Michael Shannon, Hozier.
I remember falling in love with Hal & Wolf's The London Sessions.
Adam Duritz, Ben Gibbard, Lisa Loeb.
As I was going through my records, I didn't realize I forgot I had Andy Warhol sign it.
Plus members of REM, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Run DMC, and more.
The arts succeeds where politics and religion fails.
Vinyl is more than just the music that's on it. It's also the memories, legends, and science that made it in the first place.
Streaming will never kill the true record makers. You can't stop thinking side one and side two, even if the world doesn't care. It's in their blood.
Find Vinyl Emergency on your preferred podcast app today and give us a follow on Instagram at Vinyl Emergency.
Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to follow them on Instagram or go to the website neverafacenetwork.com. On this episode, we have a musician, podcaster, radio host, and now author, Bob Crawford. You might know him from his decades of playing and touring with the Avett Brothers. Bob's first book, America's Founding Son, John Quincy Adams, From President to Political Maverick, comes out on March 10th. We talk about his life as a dad, how he's always working on projects on the tour bus, having a daughter who has had brain cancer multiple times, the reality that comes with that, and how his wife and son talked him into seeing a scary movie. A lot of our conversation is about his book and how he decided to write about John Quincy Adams, his love of researching, his excitement to tell the story, if founding fathers were good dads, and writing a book for the first time. You can find his book wherever books are sold or by going to his Instagram, Bob Crawford Bass. Just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. My middle child has a form of epilepsy called Selects, in which she doesn't really have seizures that often. She's had 3 in the past year. So it's back of mind, constant. It's just constant.
How old is she, may I ask?
She's 8 years old. So it's just something that developed in the last 6 months or so. Yeah. But yes, putting my phone in do not disturb, airplane mode, anything like that. There's so many levels of anxiety that come with parenting that I didn't anticipate. Man, and this is a new one for me.
It's kind of where we live. It's absolutely where we live. It's and I'm fine talking about this. My daughter's seizures are daily.
Okay. Yeah.
And they have been as long as an hour and a half in the past couple of years.
My gosh. Okay.
And we've got them down shorter than much shorter than that. But we are trying a new medication as we speak, and it's just you never know when you're going to get a phone call.
You don't. To give more details for my experience, I was dropping my youngest off at pre-K and got a phone call from the school and declined it because I was driving, didn't want to be driving and all that. You never
declined the school.
I know it now.
Crazy.
Yes, and then my wife called me. It's hey, she just had a seizure, and we're okay, cool. Crap. So it's one of those mistakes you make once. It's one of those, hey, I'm just going to bump this call because I'm driving. My son's asking me a million questions. I'm sure they're asking something. And never again.
I got to give you credit for being of the temperament to, because I am a very reactive person and I'm a very reactive parent. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always ready for action.
Okay.
It's kind of the thing. So I wouldn't even, I give people credit who are more laid back and who can kind of take it as it comes. And my wife and I always have this constant discussion because she'll observe and watch, and I'm immediately jumping in and usually making things worse.
That's another fun thing to learn as a parent and a father is, man, I thought I was going to be helpful. Apparently, my energy just completely shifted the mood. Everyone's on edge now, and all I want is for my kid to be safe. I want people to be healthy, and I'm not going to accomplish that goal coming in here with this energy.
For someone who works so hard, puts forth so much effort to be like a good parent as I do, it's amazing how unhelpful I can be at times because I'm constantly working. Feels for me like I work harder, definitely not harder than my wife, but I seem to be working harder than a lot of my friends who are or fathers, and I seem to be getting nowhere at it. So I don't know.
Dude, it's I think if I know someone is about to become a new dad, I'll usually tell them like, hey, it's a really weird ego check. You're going to care a ton, and it's going to take you a while to realize how to communicate how you care, and which is actually helpful. I assume if I involve myself, I'm going to make things better with the situation with the kid.
Because you want to be
That's
present.
not always the case.
That's the whole thing is like you want to be present, especially with like all the things I have going on. I'm like really like you need to be present now here to these people.
Yes.
And but you are I don't know about teenagers for you, but talk about you care more than anything in the world for these people, and then you get to a point where they really don't care about you at all.
Nope.
You're you go from being a hero to a zero in the course of like 3 years. So
my oldest is 10, my middle child is 8, and my youngest is 4. So they still want my approval. So I know, but like in 2 years, once my oldest gets into middle school, I'm done. Like I give her food and I'm her chauffeur. I know that's my job.
That's right. They really love you when they want something.
How old are your kids and how many do you have?
My son's 14, my daughter's 16.
Okay. Oh gosh.
16. Yeah.
Is it, if I can ask, is it your daughter or son who has seizures?
It's my daughter.
Okay, cool. I know one thing with having kids is like in my head, I assume it's my responsibility to teach them how to drive. I'm assuming with your daughter's condition, she probably driving lessons is not something you're going to teach her. Is that a correct assumption?
No, she will never drive. Yeah. She will always be with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you, I know that's like a definite like dad parenting moment, like that teaching your kid to drive. How do you feel about that? Like that you won't teach your daughter how to drive versus kind of like this is just reality.
Well, in the history of my daughter's situation and condition, it is the smallest thing in the world. Like
gotcha.
we are so far beyond.
Yeah,
she'll never drive. Like we are way beyond that. That's very low on the list of things that in fact, I've never even thought about it until you mentioned it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Your poor son, he's going to get all that energy. You're going to be like, he's going to be getting his permit. You're going to make, let's go. I got this. Let's do this, man.
My wife has been good. She's got him started already.
Okay.
And he does he's driven with me, and we drive on our property, like safe area. But I think I feel good that he'll be okay. He'll be a good driver.
That's awesome. So you said earlier you do like a million things. I feel like from even just reading your bio, I know you're an author, you do podcasts. Do you do a radio show also?
So I have a book coming out. My first book, America's Founding Son, John Quincy Adams from President to Political Maverick. That book comes out on March 10th. And then I have 2 podcasts. I have American History Hotline, which is on iHeart. New episodes drop on Wednesdays. And then I have The Road to Now, which I've been doing for 10 years with my friend Ben Sawyer. And those episodes drop on Mondays. And they're also on SiriusXM's POTUS channel throughout the weekend. They're played throughout the weekend there. And then I'll also guest host for Michael Smerconish on the Michael Smerconish program, which is on SiriusXM on in the East Coast, 9 to noon, Monday through Friday. And so, I did it like 8 times last year. I've done it about 4 times so far this year. And I'm just kind of like in the mix to guest host for that.
That's cool. As well as, being a touring musician.
Yeah, and then I'm in then the way I like make a living is being in the Avett Brothers.
That is, so are you ever bored? I guess is really the main question I have.
Yeah. The hardest thing is stopping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
because there's always it's funny because you have like a teenager, and boredom is kind of a thing with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you want them to be like creative or active, but then me on the other hand at 54 years old, it's almost like someone said this about a friend. They said he needs a not to do list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably need that.
I totally get that. I think it's like it's either a not to do list or a permission list. Like a hey man, it's okay if you watch a show. It's okay if you
Yeah.
sit down. It's okay
Yeah, I
if you
don't
actually sit still for a bit.
right. I don't watch a lot of movies, and my son asked me, I was like, they take too long.
Mm-hmm.
I like sitcoms and game shows, and because the content tends to be less stressful, and like we have a really stressful home life, and so sometimes I don't want to give myself over to that, even if it's fantasy. And it's an investment of like 2.5 hours, 2 hours,
Yeah.
and I don't have it to give. I don't want to give it there.
Yeah, totally. That's how I love like Christopher Nolan. Whenever I was in my 20s, I'd watch Christopher Nolan films like all the time. And then like, I mean, Oppenheimer came out how many years ago now? I still haven't seen it because it's
I
like
haven't
3 hours.
seen it either. No.
I don't
No,
got
in
time
fact,
for that.
I had one when I was pitching this book and having meetings with editors. One publisher suggested rewriting my book proposal, and
Mhm.
she's like, "Well, you should watch Oppenheimer, and like they do this thing." And
Oh.
so I started watching Oppenheimer, and I was like 20 minutes in, I was like, no, I'm good. Like I'll figure it out.
Well, because it's like even if my wife and I do a date or anything like that, it's like traditional thing. I'll just go to a movie, or it's like in my head like that's what a date is go to a
Yeah.
dinner and a movie. And I'm like, but what like that's gonna. I don't want to sit in a dark room with my wife for 2.5 hours and not talk to her. If we're gonna take the
Right.
time to get
Yeah,
away,
yeah.
it's connecting, but we've got so much going on. How do we give space for us to actually tell a story without a kid asking us 5 questions in the middle of it?
Yeah, yeah. I went to a movie this past summer with my wife and son, and I just went to be with them. Like I
Yeah.
went because they asked me to go, and because they'll do that, they'll go see, like they like scary movies, and
Okay.
I don't. But I went to this movie, and it was a scary movie, and you know, it was just worth it to be with them in fellowship.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You watch the movie like this with your hands over your eyes, being like, "I love
You
my
know what's
wife and my
funny?
son."
I it really messed me up, and then,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh god, this is gonna give me nightmares," and I finally had a nightmare about it. This is in July we went, and, I had a nightmare about it a couple weeks ago.
It is good to know yourself though. Like my wife
Yeah.
is the same, and what she like. I remember we tried to watch through Stranger Things, and like the second season gave her nightmares, and she was like, "I had a nightmare about this," and I'm like, "Well, then we just won't watch the like. What's the other option here? Tell you to get over it because I think the
Right.
show's interesting? No, I just watch it later. It's fine."
I used to watch, like, a lot. I used to watch, like I watched, like, Sopranos when it was
Yeah.
on, and every I would it was on Sunday nights, and I would watch it, and then I would just feel bad after I would just feel bad.
Yeah.
And then after our daughter got cancer and all these horrible things, like we lived a nightmare.
Yep.
I just didn't want to go into a nightmare willingly. I just didn't want to go there. And so it took like my wife and I watched Breaking Bad, but we watched it
Gosh. Yeah.
like years after it was already over. Like we got to a point where like, okay, let's watch this now. And she's picked up on, she can watch like horror and that kind of stuff. But I just, again, it's like, I don't want to give my time to this. I don't, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, I also enjoy horror and scary stuff. Like, I like Stephen King a lot. And now, like, having 3 kids, like, reading a story about a kid being kidnapped, I'm like, I don't like this.
That's
This
right.
isn't fun anymore. This, like, as a kid, I was like, oh, that would suck if that happened to me. As an adult, I'm like, you go through all the scenarios of what your brain would do. And I'm like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah,
This isn't entertainment to me anymore.
for sure.
Since you're so busy whenever you're at home, does that kind of carry over whenever you're on like the tour bus and stuff? Or are you still doing like a
it
million
kind
things?
of it starts there because
Yeah.
on tour you have so much downtime,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where projects. It's healthy.
Yeah.
Like I believe it's healthy to have projects while you're on the road, because it's the time to do them
Mm-hmm.
because you're not cutting into family time, and B, I would just go crazy sitting around all the time with no, I mean, I just have to. I just have to be busy. So it's the kind of like the daily schedule is like, and writing this book, for the past like over a year, it
Mhm.
really lent itself to that. And and I'm up at this point at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, no matter if I go to bed after a show at midnight or 2 a.m.
Yeah.
or if I go to bed at home like earlier, like I'm still going to be up at 6 in the morning.
Yep.
So creating the schedule and a routine
Mhm.
is healthy.
Yeah. Whenever you're done with the show, does it take you that long to like come down from the energy from it? Because I'm assuming
Yeah,
you get
it,
off
it
stage at like
does.
11 or so.
Yeah, I mean, because we tend to get off stage at you know not between 10 and 11 or 11:30,
Hmm.
and so it could take like 2 hours. You get in your bunk and it
Yeah.
just takes time to wind down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm assuming since your kids are teenagers and with your daughter's health needs, do they come out with you on tour ever? Or do they mostly kind of keep their home life going?
they keep their home life going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for my daughter, it's like travel is really difficult with her.
Okay.
My wife and son came out to Red Rocks
Hmm.
last year, but yeah, for the most part, they don't.
Yeah. Yep. Now, I think whenever I talk to people and they have like younger kids, like under the age of 5, not in school yet, then it has some cuteness and some charm to it. But like, I mean, you've already kind of hinted at it. Convincing your 14-year-old son to go do something, I'm sure, is its own challenge.
Right, yeah, and also it's work.
Yeah.
I understand the point of, like, you're away a lot, and so, it's good to just be together, but
Hmm.
you're together in, like, in a terrible environment. Like,
Yeah.
you know, for, like, a trip, and then parenting is a job,
Hmm.
and then you're there working your job,
Yeah.
and then so it's like you're doing double duty. So for a short time, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's good, but I couldn't imagine, having to parent and living on the road. It's just not conducive to stability. I don't think it's conducive to stability.
It's not. And I think as like a teenager, even in my early 20s, I was like, oh, routine, that's good. I should figure that out sometime. And then the second I had kids, I was like, no, seriously, like a routine is extremely healthy. Predicting what your day is like kind of necessary.
Yeah, and like you said, like, younger kids, it's probably okay, but, and I don't knock anybody who does it, because there
Yeah.
are a lot of people who do that and live that
Yep.
lifestyle, and that's great for them. They can manage it. It's just the way our life was from very early on in our
Hmm.
parenting lives. Like, our daughter got sick at 22 months old,
Yeah.
and she's our oldest, and so we never had
Yep.
like, normalcy. We had a very brief time
Yeah.
of what would a typical parenting existence. And so just everything we've experienced over the past 16 years has just been, or really past, 14 and a half
Hmm.
years has is just so skewed. It's so skewed. So yeah, I really have trouble like relating to normalcy.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think a lot of being a parent is sadly worst case scenarios are like, okay, cool. If we're here, what happens? Where can I get help? What can happen if my daughter needs help? How do we do this? A tour. If you already said your daughter sometimes has a seizure that lasts longer than an hour. I wouldn't want that to happen backstage in a green room
No,
at a tour. Like,
it'd just
and
be
you're not risking that.
ridiculous.
Yeah. You're not putting yourself in a
And
situation which that can
luckily
happen.
that's not the norm. Like,
Good. I'm glad.
we went through a period of that.
Yeah.
And it was related to a medication we
Fun.
thought was gonna help, and
Yep.
it took a year. It robbed us of a year of our lives
I'm sorry.
to convince the doctors and to
Yep.
convince ourselves that, Wait, this is the medicine that's doing this."
Yeah.
So, but even just our daily life, like, we do everything for her. Like, she
Hmm.
doesn't toilet, like,
Okay.
she's in a wheelchair, and it's a special
Okay.
wheelchair
Yeah.
that you can't fold. It's like everything about, about her
Yeah.
life is it demands stability,
Hmm.
and the less moving around locations, it's really the easy.
And like just intentionality. You have to have a plan for everything. You have to
Yeah.
know what you're getting into and what's going to happen. And just so your daughter can be taken care of. It's just reality for you. So, dude, thank you for letting me know about that aspect of your life. I really appreciate that. I'm going to transition into talking about your book, which is awesome that you wrote a book.
Yeah.
And also, I do want to say thank you for sending me a copy of it. This is like genuinely one of the coolest things I've ever received. So thank you for letting me get one.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It is. I'm getting the sense that you enjoy research or you enjoy researching something. Is that a pretty safe assumption?
For sure. That's my favorite part. That is my favorite part. Yeah.
Because even like reading through this, I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm on let me double check. I'm on chapter 14. So, I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
Into it. Like it's like 20 chapters and a really brief epilogue. Yeah.
Yes. And the amount of already 14 chapters in, like the amount of little details that you include in this of just like hints of backstory. I'm like, this is a ton of research, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a subject. John Quincy Adams, he was our sixth president, and he had a failed one-term presidency. And then he goes into Congress for 17 years. And that makes him extraordinary. Also, he's the son of John Adams, who's the second president, one of our founding fathers. And so he just has this incredible life from end to end, from birth to death. This is not a cradle to grave book, as you know, but it focuses really on from the time 1820 to 1848. He's Secretary of State. In 1820, it's the time of the Missouri Compromise, and he dies in 1848 as a congressman from Massachusetts. But I had been researching him, and I did a podcast series about him a couple years ago. So I kind of been with him for the past 4 years, really doing the research. So there's a lot of research that's gone into it, and some of it's been going on for a while.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever expect to write a book about John Quincy? Did it just come to you? You're like, you know what? I've got to write this book now. I've got too much knowledge about him.
Well, I did a podcast series, and I had a book agent reach out to me and said, "Hey, I think there's a book here." I always thought I would write a book.
Yeah.
And in fact, I wrote a memoir that I haven't done anything with, and I would completely rewrite it now if I was going to do that. But I knew I would write a book, and I wanted to write a history book. And then the opportunity just came up, and I just took it.
That's awesome. How's it, whenever you are in the Avett Brothers and everything, how much of like the lyrical writing process are you a part of? Like, is writing words and mastering words something you're used to?
0.00001. Not zero, but not.
You're there. You're technically a writing credits in there somewhere.
The decimal point. No, I mean, no. That's their thing. That is their thing, and I'm happy to leave it to them. And there have been times when I did, and it's their thing, and they're writing constantly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've written songs, so I kind of understand that. But this is something completely. I think writing a book and a biography it's a completely different skill set, maybe.
Yeah.
Completely different mental. The part that's similar, I think, is the editing, is the idea, the concept of editing, which I think goes into really the essence of all creativity. I think is the ability to edit. I believe editing is writing. So, that, I guess, and then when we're writing a song and when we're recording a song, there is a lot of like revision that goes into that. There's like a process of that. And that's very similar to writing a book.
Yeah, I have some definite perfectionist tendencies. So if I go to sit down to write a song or write something, getting used to like that process is something that I know takes a while to get used to. Because I want it to be perfect on the first try. And it's like, you're never like, nah, man, that's rare. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. When I really got into books, I was just out of high school, and I got into like Jack Kerouac and all the beatniks. And it was this idea of the moment is creativity is the moment.
Yeah.
And that first burst of energy that hits the page, that's got to be it. Because that's that's purity.
Yes. Yep.
That's really not true. Like, it took me a long time to kind of realize that. It's just like, because you're trying to refine what you want to say. You're really trying to dial in what you want to say. And that takes time.
Yeah. But also, though, I've read a fair amount of Hemingway, in which I'm like, oh, you just drink a lot and then write, and it's perfect. That's how Hemingway did it. But I think that's like a sign of maturity for a creative person, is knowing like, hey, that whole process, that whole journey is such a, I think it takes a while to get comfortable with, because it's very easy to get wrapped up in the mindset of, if it wasn't good the first time, it won't be good the second time I get back to it and stuff. And it's like, no, you just refine, man.
Well, what I've learned about being in the band is it's always better the second time.
Yeah.
Like if you record something and you lose it, like let's
Yeah.
say you lose it somehow, or you write something and you lose it,
Mm-hmm.
it will always be better. It's always going to, like the next time you do it, it will be better. Like there's
Yeah.
just no doubt about that. So people shouldn't fret if they lose a document. Everything saves now, so we don't really don't have this problem like we used to. But I mean, I did have a few moments like with the book where I thought I lost a draft.
Oh, really?
You know,
Oh, dude.
and that was scary, but I didn't. But I thought I did. But if I had, the next one would have been better.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And if I wrote this book all over again, it'd probably be better. Like it would, you know, I'm happy with it, but I think it, you know, I think that's how creativity goes.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think there's some element of like with recording or music specifically, it's like, hey, that was the energy that was in the room that day. So you're just capturing what were you feeling that day, that moment. And the next time you approach it, it's going to be like, if I asked right now, tell me your life story in 2 minutes, it would be a different story every single time I told
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
So just how it works. It's for like your creative process and everything. This book seems like a ton of research. I would stall out and research. That's what I would do. I would think there'd be more I could research. Did it take you a while to go from research to actually writing it?
Yeah. And in fact, like, you know, I'm still researching this subject. and there are things I found, you know, there's one piece of information that I learned after the book was finished. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Come on.
And I did research, but there was just this little thing.
Mhm.
And for someone like Adams, like his personal diary is 14,000 pages long.
Oh my gosh.
And
All
so-
handwritten, right?
Right, that he wrote. Yeah, he wrote
Yeah.
kept a diary most of his life. And and he had been involved in so much
Mm-hmm.
that I had a focus. The focus of the book is really him and slavery
Yes.
and the anti-slavery cause. And so I really stuck to that. Like I tried to really focus in on, and that meant like other things, just not even addressing them.
Yes. That would be so difficult to me, because like whenever I care a lot about a subject and I know a lot about it, I would just want a tangent. It'd be so hard for me not to side tangent. Did
Right.
it take you a while to figure out to keep your focus in written form? Because this all seems very difficult.
I had to keep reminding myself that.
Yeah.
You know, and something I wanted to do, and this is like how I proposed the book, and I think this is what makes it different than any other John Quincy Adams book that's out there. And there are several several great John Quincy Adams biographies. Thinking of the anti-slavery issue, there were two abolitionists that he had relationships with, Benjamin Lundy
Mhm.
and Theodore Weld. And these two men have been largely lost to history. And not completely, but every time I would read a book about Adams, there would be a paragraph about one or the other,
Mhm.
you know, or a page here, a page there. But I was so fascinated with these men, and in particular with the relationship Adams had with them, because Adams was notoriously cold. He was a cold man, but he had seems like he had these warm, almost tender bonds with these two abolitionists.
Yeah.
And he didn't consider himself an abolitionist. But so I really wanted to elevate these two guys. And I really wanted to, at one point I wanted to write a biography about Benjamin Lundy. At one point I
Mhm.
thought, what about Theodore Weld? And when I got the opportunity to write about Adams, I thought, like, can I write about the three of them?
Yeah.
And so what I didn't know if it would work or not was going from being, you know, you're reading the book, you're with Adams, and now you're with Lundy,
Mhm.
now you're with Weld, now you're with Adams. Like, could I weave these three narratives, these three lives? Could I, because they cross these lives, they cross. And so could I tell the story of the three of them? And through doing that, I'm telling the story of this time period, which was really important, because Adams represents what's happening in the seat of power, in the
Mhm.
Capitol, in the House of Representatives. And these men are out on the ground. They are the activists. And so I found great relevance to this time period
Mhm.
in telling a story of that time period.
Yeah. I think about the point where Lundy and Adams are starting to finally connect and everything. And like, I mean, as I was reading it, I was like, the way you described Lundy and everyone, I was just like, oh, I know this all comes together. This all matters. And I can't wait to
Right.
find out
Right.
how it all matters. Cause yeah, Lundy, I've never heard of Lundy before. I didn't know he existed. And like his entire story is just, he seems like such a driven person, such a like this, if
Right.
he didn't devote his life to anti-slavery or abolitionist causes, he would have felt like he was betraying his existence. Is like the vibe I
Exactly.
get from
Yeah, he was on a mission from God to
Mhm.
kind of quote the Blues Brothers. I mean, like
Yes.
he was extremely driven, and he there was nothing else he could do. There was
Mhm.
nothing else he could do, and in in following his path, he literally walks, you know, from essentially Maryland, Baltimore to Canada, and then
Yeah.
comes back and walks down to Mexico, or like, he takes a boat. But I
Yeah.
mean, he's a lot of it on foot. He walks across Mexico
Mhm.
twice. It's just it's incredible.
At a time whenever like, was it, this is all like cause I think I just read like the chapter with the Alamo and stuff. Like these weren't safe places to walk either. He wasn't just like doing a casual stroll
No,
down the
he was
highway.
harassed. Because he became known as an anti-slavery.
Yeah.
He had a newspaper called The Genius of Universal Emancipation. It was an
Mhm.
anti-slavery journal. And this is a time where there had been some slave uprisings in the South.
Yeah.
And some would blame him. A lot of Southerners blamed him and people like him for stirring the pot and creating this atmosphere, this atmosphere of hostility.
Yeah.
And that was encouraging slaves to revolt. And so when he we got to go through the South to get to Mexico, he had to go
Sure
in
do.
disguise, and he would be harassed going across Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. One question I have for you about Lundy specifically is just as a father, because I know he wasn't there whenever his wife died. He pretty much like he had a good, successful career and devoted himself much to this cause that I mean, I don't want to say abandoned his family, but
Well,
he
yeah, he
left.
does. He essentially does. I gotta say, like the bet, because Adams wasn't a great father. I
Yeah.
mean, he wasn't a great husband. He wasn't a great father. He
Mhm.
wasn't a philanderer,
Yeah.
but he was, dismissive, and he was really hard father, right? A hard
Mhm.
father. Lundy, like you mentioned, his wife dies, and he's got all these kids, and he gives them to this family member, like because he's on
Yeah.
this mission, like. But Theodore Weld, I think, is the best parent of the three. If I had to say, he actually at one point gives up the cause
Okay.
to be a father and to open a school, and so he and his wife are I would say are better parents.
And I mean, like realistically, I'm reading Lundy's story with my modern day cultural context.
No, and you have to be, you 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right?
Yeah.
Like when I think about I haven't read a whole lot of Gandhi biographies, but
Mhm.
one thing I always hear about Gandhi is he was a terrible father.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these heroes or these great men, they were really bad family men for different
Mhm.
reasons,
Mhm.
And so you really got to take that into
Yeah.
consideration.
But like even reading about Lundy and being like, hey, he's got a really successful business, and then he gets the calling from God basically
Yeah.
to go do this, and he not gives up his business, moves his business, starts traveling, starts walking across the country while his wife and kids are back at home. And I'm like, that I know as a father, I don't think I'll ever be so driven by a purpose to
No,
leave
I
my
don't.
family.
I think you're like me, where like I've got the best of all possible. I've been very blessed
Mhm.
because I have a situation that demands my attention, like my family, and I feel like I've done a good job. I feel like I've done a good job, and I continue. I left the band for a year when my daughter first got sick, and
Okay.
I've done what I've had to do for her,
Mhm.
for our family, but I've also been blessed to be able to pursue these other things, and I feel like I balance it well. My wife may disagree, but for the most part, I feel like I've balanced it very well. But I'm also not on this religious crusade
Correct.
or on a crusade to, save the world that would maybe dictate me really not being present to my family.
Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, my wife's personality is the type where she's very type A, very focused, very driven all the time. So like if she's like, hey, I'm going to go on a run on Saturday morning before the kids wake up, I'm like, that's better for everyone. Like you'd already have accomplished
Keep
something.
your cup filled, right? You got to keep your cup filled. Yeah. And I got to say, me saying all this, I could always do better. Like,
Of course, yes.
I could always be better. We all could.
Correct. And that's like the humbling realization of being a parent. It's just like, hey, there's always more room for intentionality. There's always more room for the extra question. And it's just, man, if you can structure a way in which you have the mental space to ask the extra question, give the more intentional moment, then I'm like, I'm trying, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. With a sick child or just with a child, I guess just parenting, you're always going to second guess yourself.
Always.
And should I be doing more of this or doing less of this? How should I approach this situation? And like it just kind of comes with the territory.
It does.
There is no right way. There's no right way, but
nope.
Definitely some wrong ways, but there's no right way.
Well, I think that's, I don't know. I think not a big thing, but something I think is discussed a lot more is normalizing or becoming more comfortable with being a parent and saying, I'm sorry. Saying, look, and being like, hey, actually, I did the best with the information I was given. Wasn't the right call. Sorry, guys. If we get in this situation again, I'm not doing that again. Just know that.
Yeah.
So other question about history in general. Since you are such a history lover, you have context of what our nation's been through.
Yeah.
Dads are always, I know a lot of dads. I am a dad who's anxious about like our current political times.
Sure. Yeah.
Knowing so much about where our country has come from, does that give you more like confidence of like, hey, we can get through this, or is it not make a difference at all?
I go back and forth on it because I do have a sense of we've always been in crisis. We're this democracies are in crisis just by existing. They're always like in a crisis. We're in a different crisis than we've experienced before. We've been, this time that I write about was a crisis, that crisis that ultimately leads to civil war. I am largely, I consider myself a realist.
Yeah.
I have very close friends, and my wife would probably say I'm a pessimist. I've actually been a little more optimistic lately.
Okay.
Which is odd because all the signs point in a just a terrible direction, but seeing what happened, the tragedies in Minnesota, and I think what's going on, just whether it's like media companies acquiescing or law firms acquiescing, universities, they always say they always warn us to not believe it can't happen here. And we all know what it is, and it very well can happen here, and it very well may happen here. But the way the American people elected Donald Trump. They elected him twice, and there's no way around that. Like, this is what the American people as an electorate decided was the right course for the country. And what I believe we're seeing, the American people looking to chart a different course, and just the way people stood up in Minnesota after those tragedies, and the way the administration, either with Greenland and the rest of the world, or with what happened in Minnesota with ICE, like, there's no reason to spike a football, but I'm beginning to sense, and poll numbers that I didn't think could ever get below 42, because that 42, they say, well, president's poll numbers are down. They're down to 42. 42 is not down. He's been 42 since he came down the escalator in 2016.
That's his normal. Yeah.
But when you see 38, it makes you go, the American people got us into this. The American people are going to get us out of this. That's the only people who are going to come save us is us. And so I'm a little more optimistic than I've been, for a long time. However, I do every day. There are things that are happening and happen that cause me great concern and great anxiety. Nothing more so than the end of the war on cancer.
Yeah.
And the cutting all of this research funding. And there have been some token, but we're going to give $50 million here for this AI cancer initiative, which you cut $500 million You're going to give back 50 million for AI. What you're really doing is you're giving your buddies, it's graft or grift or, because
it's a con. Yeah.
You're giving the technology companies, you're putting them in charge of all cancer. There is a place for AI in cancer research. There's probably a pretty big place, but we can't take kids off of brain tumor studies.
No, we can't.
To do it. And then, so you cut all this Alzheimer's research and cancer research and all this like really good research that's not only going to improve our lives and our children's lives, but it's also training up that next generation of scientists and researchers. You cut all of that, and then you give 70 billion, whatever, what is the number that was given to ICE? And to these domestic police forces.
Yeah.
So you're really taking from something that is forward looking. And how did I hear it said the other day? Generative, right? And you're giving to something that is actually very destructive. Yeah. So that causes me great concern every day.
Yes. That's honestly, that's real. Cause I feel the same of like, I'll read about things from like, hey, we're going to figure this out. We got this. And then, yes, I agree of like, don't cut funding here. Like this makes us the America I want to be. So,
Republicans get cancer too.
They do.
So, and this is what I think relatable. What's what I find relatable to the period I wrote about. And in my book, it's that in the 80s and 1840s, there was no way to conceive an end to slavery.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It was never going to end. The only people who wanted it to end were a bunch of Christian weirdos, minority of a minority, to the point where in the North they were hated because they were going to upset the status quo. They were just causing trouble. They were just out there causing trouble. And so I think that's what makes, this story relevant to our times because, often it doesn't look like change is going to happen. And it doesn't look like the good is going, and it's always when the good thing happens, it's always mixed. Like the bad things are constant, right?
Yeah.
The good thing is sometimes hard to see or hard to find. It's definitely hard to achieve. It's never as big as you dream it could be, but these small changes and small victories, they add up over time. And so we're coming out of a period, the post-World War II period, where it was about investing in people's educations and investing in medical research and investing in institutions that would better society and better the world, like Fulbright scholarships and all these great, great, wonderful things. PEPFAR, I did a documentary series called Concerts of Change, which looked at what George Harrison started with the concert for Bangladesh in 1971. Bono actually achieves by creating the organization One, which works with George W. Bush and creates PEPFAR, which saves millions and millions and millions of lives, like almost like 80 million lives, and changes the course of medical, the way medical is provided in Africa and around the world, which has just been taken away. We achieved so much that was good for humanity. Now the pendulum has swung the other way.
Yeah.
And we are now, we are on a very different path.
Yeah, we are. And yeah, I also have more thoughts on that. But in the interest of time, how I end every episode is ask 5 questions. So the first, they're all like pretty fun icebreaker questions. I know I sent them over to your team, so let's see if you read them or not.
Okay.
So first question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have any names you almost named your children?
Yeah, I did look at this one.
Okay.
I'm trying to go back to when we were thinking about names.
Yeah.
And, I am a junior. I'm Robert William Crawford Jr. My dad is Robert William Crawford Sr. My grandfather's Robert Crawford. So Robert was out. Bob was just not even going to be even in the ballpark. I don't remember backup names, and my wife may listen to this and be like, hey, don't you remember blah blah blah? But Hallie is my daughter's name, and that was my wife's grandmother's name.
That's sweet.
And then her middle name's Elizabeth, which is my grandmother's middle name. So
that's cool.
So yeah, I don't know if we had
Okay.
backups. I'm not bringing that in right now.
Yeah. I'll put this invitation out there to your wife if she listens to this. If she
Yeah.
needs to do a corrections episode, I'll just send her my email. And
Look, how much time do you have for a corrections episode?
luckily, we talked mostly about your book. So luckily, the
If we could
round
get
for
her
it-
on microphone to talk, she would be more informative, more entertaining, and more inspirational than I could ever hope to be. But I am an extrovert. She is an introvert. So
Yes.
I don't.
It's
know
nice to balance each other, isn't it?
That's right. You'll have to ask her.
I will. I'll figure it out. Next question: do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
I like this question, and I thought about it. I wonder how many people have said to you Homer Simpson.
I
when
have.
you've
That's
asked
my
the
answer.
question.
Homer Simpson is my answer.
You know, I started thinking about I am a bit of like a sitcom
Yeah.
historian, the amateur sitcom historian and junkie.
Yeah.
And you know, there's always like 4 or 5 that come out every year, and most of them are really bad. Like it's about writing a genre. It's like about fitting something into a genre that is there's all the same jokes and same storylines, and who can do it, put a spin on it. But like, so I'm thinking Homer Simpson, and he comes from Fred Flintstone, and probably they all come from Ralph Cramden in some way. But
Yeah.
anyway, you know who I thought about? Peter Bailey.
Yeah.
Do you know who Peter Bailey is?
A Wonderful Life?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, George. That movie is like, you know, it's of course about George Bailey, and it came out in 1946, and it's a story of a guy. I mean, everybody must know this, but it's a story of a guy who's going through some hard times, and he regrets even being born, and an angel shows him what it's like. And Peter Bailey is in this movie very briefly. His father, George's father, Peter, but he runs a saving and loan, and this is around the time of the Great, I guess, you know, that spans his life, and you know, so I guess this is like, and it crosses the Great Depression, but like the savings and loan, he runs a savings and loan, and he's an honest guy, and he's trying to give people, you know, a fair shot in life. He's trying to loan them money and to build them houses, and it doesn't make any money. And there's a guy in town who's a Mr. Potter, who's like a greedy miser who's always trying to get his hands on this savings and loan because he owns everything else in the town. And Peter Bailey is like he's like nothing like me. And he's dedicated his life to doing good for others. And he's very quiet, and he's just a very calming presence. And he tries to, you know, he sees the good in his, or the strength and the qualities that his son has, and he's trying to convince him to go into the business with him. And anyway, it's just something about him as a parent. I just always imagine like this guy is a rock.
Yeah.
And he's just, you know.
Yeah.
I share none of the qualities of this man, but
well, that's what you need to know what your inspiration is and who you can aspire to be.
Yeah.
There's an author, his name's Patton Dodd, and he wrote a book about his relationship with his dad and everything. And he said how he ended up writing that book was he was pitching a book about It's a Wonderful Life and his love of that movie. And people kept on being like, I don't want to buy this. Can you dive into all the discomfort you have with your dad in a book form? Because I would much rather buy that. And he's like, no, let me write about It's a Wonderful Life. That's much more fun to write about.
Yeah, I've thought about a situation about that with that movie and another movie that came out the same year. And I'm like, wow, there's such a story here about the country after World War II. And, you know, but again,
entertainment reflects
wouldn't
culture.
have any, I wouldn't have any luck either probably pitching that.
I'll connect you two. You two can work in cahoots to get it going.
They would be like, you know, can't you just write a book about like being in a band and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that's more interesting, isn't it?
Right. Well, for some people.
Next question. What's your go-to replacement curse word? You stub your toe, someone cuts you off in traffic. What do you say instead?
You know, I got to say, like, I didn't curse for years because when your kids are small, you really get out of that.
Yeah.
I at least I did. I find the older my son gets in particular, the easier it is for me to curse. So
you understand. You know, you're saying these words anyway, buddy.
Yeah, I would like recently I've been swearing a lot lately, which is really it's become uncharacteristic for me. But dag nabbit, dad blasted,
dag nabbit,
like the 1840 gold miner curse words. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Next question. What's like one of your favorite activities or toys or something you do with your kids? Favorite activity to do with a kid?
It's hard when you get to the age where that gets tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Being present. So my son and I, after dinner every night for years, we would play one-on-one basketball.
Cool.
Or we would throw the football. And that has stopped in the last year. That has stopped because he's just entered.
Because he's 14? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's 14. And we still do it sometimes. But yeah, that's kind of a heartbreaker. And my daughter, my favorite activity is being her butler, because basically I and my wife's like, you just do everything. You're like, she's, Daddy, come here. I need this. I need that. Like, she's in a wheelchair and she's not super mobile. And so like, I basically work for her.
Yeah.
I work for her. And it's exhausting, but I also kind of like it.
Yeah. You know what? Your kid's communicating her needs. And you know what? That's not a guarantee.
Like, look, she's had 3 brain tumors.
Yeah.
We have had the talk from doctors at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
And after the 3rd one, I used to be like really like big on physical therapy for her and all these things that you could do for a child. It's the work you could do on and for a child like this is endless. That's all you could do. You could spend your life just doing that.
Yeah.
And after her last brain tumor, I was like, maybe we don't need to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe she just needs to have fun and be happy. And so I've taken that to the extreme of spoiling her.
Okay.
And being at her beck and call. And that's probably not good either. But I'm just being honest with you. And so I guess that's my favorite activity. Here's one thing I do with her.
Yeah.
I bought this really literally a $10 laminating machine on Amazon. I literally bought the cheapest one I could find, least expensive. And she'll say, make me a picture of this or that person or the character. And so it's become this thing that's gotten out of control. So whatever it is, it could be Velma from Scooby-Doo. She goes through these phases. It could be a YouTube influencer. Yeah. It could be a friend from school. It could be her teacher. And we print up these pictures and we laminate them for her. And she's got hundreds of them. And so that's another thing I do with her.
That's awesome.
But pretty much I work for her.
That's fair. You know what? Sounds like you're grateful to have the work.
Yeah, I am. It's good work if you can get it.
That's right. And then last question is, what's if you had to give someone parenting advice or advice as since they're a dad, what would you give them? What would you tell them?
I mean, just buckle up. I mean,
yeah,
it's not easy. It's just not easy. It's so not easy that I can be very angry at people who seem to do it well and have it easy.
I get that. And then last thing for you, just moment for self-promotion. If we want to find your book tour, any of that good stuff.
Well, it comes out on March 10th, available wherever fine books are sold. There are some limited edition signed copies that you can get my Instagram is @BobCrawfordBase. You can look in my bio and there's all kinds of links there, but really wherever fine books are sold. America's Founding Son, John Quincy Adams, from president to political maverick.
Well done. Wait, did you have it written down in front of you, or is that off? Have you said it so many times?
I had it written down for a long time. I've been saying it so much lately
that's awesome. And I know you guys are out here in Denver in July. I think you're doing 3 nights at Red Rocks, if I'm not mistaken. If you do any book tour, or if you do anything book related,
there will be an event. So keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, I'll keep bothering you. I'll keep heckling you if I see it in town.
It's going to be a morning event. It's going to be a morning event. So.
You got sound check at 2.
I totally get it. So it'll be 11 to 1, I think.
Perfect. But yeah, man, I'll let you get back to your day. I know you got a call pretty soon, but thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. Last other thing, the first time I saw Avett Brothers play was Springfield, Illinois, when you're on tour for Emotionalism, because you played the Performing Arts Center in Springfield, Illinois, and I'm from Southern Indiana.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have just released Emotionalism. And the entire crowd knew like every single word to every single song you guys had. And it was one of the most fun experiences. I think of that concert often.
I remember that very well because I went to the Lincoln Museum that day. The Lincoln Presidential, I think it's a library museum.
Yeah.
And I went, and that's the only time I've been there. I think it's the only time we've been there.
Oh yeah, no, it was like the Performing Arts Center. It might have been 50, maybe 70 people. I just remember my friend and I being in the crowd being like, sometimes you see a band and you're like, I'm never going to see the band in this small of a venue ever again. That was one of those shows for me.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Perfect. And enjoy the rest of your day, Bob. All right.
Oh, thank you, Devin. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Imperfect Dads Podcast. And make sure to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us. Music, editing, and production is all done by me. Make sure to tune in on Mondays and most Thursdays for new episodes. This podcast is part of the Never Efface Network. Make sure to go to nevereffacenetwork.com to learn more about them.